That was your own fault.
What do you see from the Bengals defense?
Just overall?
Yeah, I just sort of, you take that wherever you
Gotcha.
Awkward silence.
Yeah, no doubt. They're dealing with a couple injuries. It's kind of where it starts, but they're very talented. Good at stopping the run. They kind of crowd the box a little bit and make it tough on you. But they're talented at the back end. Their free safety plays very well, reading eyes and just things like that.
Speaking of injuries, Joe Burrow is dealing with a pinky injury. You don't think that a pinky is very serious, but for a quarterback, how important is that, and how can that sort of affect you when you're throwing?
Anything on your right hand all comes into play just a little differently. It could affect the spiral. It all depends how severe it is, what exactly it is, but could affect the spiral a little bit, just your grip on the ball overall, and especially when you get into these colder games, it could play a factor.
Jimmy, one of the things your teammates talk about a lot is no matter what, you're always the same guy in the huddle, you're always the same guy in the field. The other day, obviously, was a little bit of a rough day. Does that still bother you? Have you flushed it? Have you moved on? Are you on to Cincinnati?
It definitely bothered me. It's more of just the first 24 hours after the game. I try to, be hard on myself, grade everything like I normally would, and then, once you hit that certain point, you got to move on to the next week. And, Cincinnati's coming quick. We'll leave on Friday, so I feel like a short, different week for us. But yeah, it's whenever you come off a game like that, you always want to, bounce back this week and perform the right way.
Talk about grading yourself. Is that just like a technical look at the tape, and do you have a process for looking at each play and your decisions?
Yeah. The coaches do their grading process. I kind of have my own just system of going back through things, and you try to replay the play in your head, how you saw it. Did you do everything the correct way? What did you miss? Where did the error occur? And you just kind of try to go back through that process and figure things out that way. And it's done well for me in the past.
Is there any one particular play from Seattle that I wish I could have had that one again?
Yeah, the second interception definitely. Just I got greedy with it. Kind of put something in my head that I thought it was going to play out a certain way, and certain things didn't happen on the play, so it played out differently. But I just got greedy with it, and instead of taking the check down and keep the ball moving, I got greedy.
How does the uncertainty in the backfield this week affect your preparation, since those guys are such an important part of your protection and all that?
It'll affect some things. I think it's more with the coaches, just how they put together the game plan. But whoever we have back there, those guys are pretty interchangeable. They all bring a different flavor to it, but it's just whoever's back there will be ready to roll.
You went to Cincinnati 2 years ago when you're kind of starting out. Have you looked at that film? How different are the Bengals now? And just what can you take away from that game?
We looked at it a little bit. They're a much different team. Different players. Some of the same players have grown and matured. Just they were rookies back then. But that's kind of we want to get back to that style. We got off to a fast start. Defense had a couple turnovers that game, I remember, and just if we could do that, that's when we're really playing our best. Play from ahead and let the rest take care of itself.
We saw kind of the winning formula for 3 games in a row, and then things didn't go that way on Sunday. How do you guys view it? Do you look at that as a step back, or just kind of big picture? How do you think you guys are right now?
There was a lot. There were some good things that came from that game. It obviously didn't turn out the way we wanted to, but at the end there, moving the ball like we did, getting it down to the 2-yard line or whatever that was. You do all these. We were just talking about it. All these good, bad, and different things that go into the game, and all it comes down to is that one play at the end. Did he tip it? Did he not? You have to, like you said, you have to look at the big picture of it. We did a lot of good things. What can you take from that game? And then at the same time, all the things that you did wrong, how could you correct them so you don't have to make that same mistake again? So there's a balance between the two of them, and we're trying to find that.
When Deebo comes back, and George puts that kind of game on film, which of course he has in the past, just how much more dynamic does it make the offense, especially in those situations where a defense can't just say, we're going to devote all these resources to George?
Yeah, it makes it tough, especially in situational ball. When you get to third down, red zone, things like that, that's when they really have to make a choice. Who do we want to take away? Do we want to give a one-on-one to George, to Deebo? And it's really my job to find that one-on-one and take advantage of that.
Obviously, you're not going to be unhappy with plays that result in yardage. But when you have a play that you look back on tape and, you take the check down and it's successful, but you look back and there's like a clear explosive option on the table that you could have taken, how do you sort of evaluate that?
I think it goes into the situation of the game, plays a big role of it. How the momentum is, do you have control of the game? And, there's a lot of factors that come into it. Pass rush is also, tied into that. But, there's a time and place where, towards the end of the game, we had to start making some chunk plays and, take some bigger chances. But when you could take those checkdowns and those checkdowns are getting you 8, 10, 12 yards, it's hard to pass those up. And so you want to stay on track and do whatever you can to do that, but you got to be aggressive at the same time.
When you went back and saw Kittle's second touchdown on film in the tightrope act along the sideline, how impressive was that, and how helpful is it when he's causing chaos on a field?
It's very helpful. It was an impressive play by George, but Juwan and BA had a nice little hit by, but Juwan really sparked that play. Just the aggressiveness that he had after he saw George catch it, and that's really the type of team we got. Guys who are willing to block for each other, guys who are willing to take one for the team, and get your brother open so that he could go make a play. And I think when guys could play like that, that unselfish mindset, it creates big plays and creates big plays for everybody.
On the the Wagner interception, the fact that Elijah had to go help with a blitz by Adams was blitzing. It didn't lead to, you couldn't have much of a play fake.
Mm-hmm.
Was that a factor? I mean, I know you talked about it after the game, but would you have expected Wagner to fight a little harder if you'd been able to have that play fake?
You'd think so, yeah. I think just naturally he would have, felt the backfield action that we were doing, and I think he would have taken a couple steps down further. But, they caught us in a nice blitz right there. Good call by them, and just gotta be patient with it. Wait for it to clear the next window, knowing that Bobby, didn't get sucked up as much as you wanted to.
Kyle said he was probably going to go for 2 if you guys had scored a touchdown at the end. Were you thinking that way as well? I mean, was that sort of the mentality going that you would go get 8 points on that drive?
Honestly, I was just trying to get the touchdown first. In the back of my mind, I know Kyle and just how he's been in the past. I had a pretty good idea that we would go for 2, especially the way we had the momentum, we were moving the ball, all those things. And unfortunately, we didn't get to that situation. But yeah, I kind of had that feeling.
And when you go into a game, do you even know what the play call will be?
Going for 2?
Yeah.
You have a good idea. We have an idea going into it, but just as the game dictates, Kyle will make that call.
Jimmy, you've been involved in giving back to the community. Arik Armstead was just nominated for the Walter Victor Award of the Year. How important is it for you as football players to give back, to be a part of your respectful community?
I think it's a huge part. It's we have a lot of responsibility when given this platform and just all the eyes that are on us and everything like that. I think when we do something, it stands out and it carries a little bit more weight to it, and it just kind of sets a tone for other people in the community. I'm big with giving back to the kids. Love any opportunity, game day, whatever it is, to get a little kid out there and just give them a cool experience, something that a lot of people don't get to experience, and these kids are privileged enough to get that chance.
Thank you, Jimmy.
All right, thanks, guys.
I noticed that you always had your helmet on last week at practice. Did you do some campaigning to try to be available for that game on Sunday?
I did. We all talked about it. We were all on the same page that the risk outweighed the reward, right? I could have went out there and we wouldn't have known what was going to happen. So it was either go out there, risk being out for another 4 weeks, or take 1 week off and be back for this week. So happy to be back.
Kyle said you're a full go today. How do you feel?
100%.
What was that experience with Azeez? How he played?
I'm sorry?
What was your assessment of how Azeez played in that role Sunday?
Oh, man, that was his best game to date. Played outstanding, and the defense didn't drop off one bit. I mean, that was such a great outing by the entire defense. But Azeez, he was out there controlling the defense, making big plays, being all over the place like he always is. And so I was on the sideline and I was cheering extra hard for him.
What was that experience for you, just missing your first game after being healthy your entire career?
It sucked. It was. I think that's the best way to put it. It was terrible. I pride myself on being available, for this team and for the defense. So it sucked being on the sideline, not being able to be out there and help them. get the win. But you know, the streak was good while it lasted.
You're not the D coordinator, but you probably know the answer to this. Dante Johnson came in, you know, even before he was playing cornerback and was playing sort of like a safety, linebacker. I don't know what the position was, but A, do you know what he was doing? And B, it seems like very valuable to have a guy that can come in, Johnny on the spot, and play multiple spots in a game.
Yeah, I mean, Dante's positionless. I mean, you've seen that. The fact that he can play kind of all 4 or all 5 of those spots in there. He's just such a smart veteran, and that's why he stuck around for so long. Obviously, he's very talented, but just his mind and being able to handle so much out there that, I mean, we can call on him to do whatever. I mean, if he needs to play Mike, if he needs to play safety, corner, and he's reliable. So, obviously, he's a huge asset for not only our team, but obviously the defense.
Guys, non-linebackers playing linebacker on Sunday? I mean, were there defensive backs having to did Hufanga, for example, look like he was the Sam for a few plays? I mean, was that happening in that game?
I wouldn't say too much from what we ordinarily do. You know, we like to use an extra DB on third downs, and that's not a secret, right? I think having Flan in there playing the wheel the whole game, he did an outstanding job holding his own in there as well. So there was a few times where it was just like, you know, having that six DB on the field.
Between Mixon and the 3 wideouts they have, this is about as good a skill position set as you'll see in a season.
Absolutely, very talented group all across the board. You mentioned those guys. You know, the guy in particular that obviously I got to focus on is Mixon. I played against him back in 19. Played against him actually in high school during like 7-on-7. You know, kind of tours, and you know, you see it still to this day. The ability to catch the ball out of the backfield, the shiftiness. He's a bigger back. He's going to run through tackles. So we gotta make sure we're on point.
You mentioned the pride you take in your availability. A number of guys this year have come back in aggravated injuries. I'm just curious, as a player, what's the process that you go through in your head in terms of finding that balance of the pride in being available, but also not making something worse and maybe more long term?
I mean, this is the first time I'm dealing with this, so I guess I'm kind of in a learning situation too. And I think the first step was accepting that, guess what, Fred, it doesn't matter how hard you try and be back for this game, talking about Seattle, it's just not smart. You know, the hamstring is going to takes a certain amount of time for it to actually heal, you know, from an anatomy standpoint. So I think it's just being in great communication with everyone, the trainers, Ben, and the coaching staff, and making sure that when there's a plan set in place that you're just following the plan.
As a captain and a leader of the team, is there anything you can do to make sure a performance like this past Sunday doesn't happen again?
Absolutely. It all starts with obviously how we're competing in practice, how we're deliberate in our meetings. You know, it's just about putting that performance behind us and onto the next. I mean, this league is all about getting better, and so as long as we get better from where we were a week ago, I think we'll have a pretty good chance.
Arik Armstead is the team's nominee for Walter Payton Man of the Year. What's he like off the field, and how much inspiration do you and the other players get from the work he does in the community?
I mean, he off the field, he's about the same as he is on the field. He's pretty soft-spoken. You know, in the game, it's hard to get him to say anything. But you know, once you get pretty close to him, he starts to open up a little bit. But in terms of what he does off the field for his community, for our community, it's insane. And I mean, it's truly an inspiration. I said it to him. You know, it's an inspiration to not only me but the entire team. All of us see it. You know, it makes me want to work harder at being better for the community and doing stuff for other people. You know, he's probably the most deserving, for sure, of who would win that award, in my opinion.
That was a pretty emotional video.
Right.
What was it like to be up there?
Because I hadn't seen. I knew DJ and Arik had a pretty special bond, right? But you know, them talking to one another in that way, in that moment, it was like, man, hey, watch out! Like, don't give me teary right here. But it was just genuine, you know, like that's the genuine care and love that we have for one another. You know, and like I said, he's very deserving of that.
DJ, is he the strong? I don't know how you would rank this, but where does he rank as far as strongest guys on the team?
That's a good question. I'd say he's up there. The first couple of names that come to mind are Trent Williams, Bosa, DJ's right there with him. I mean, and you're talking about like football strength, I feel like he's number one. You know, we're not talking about benching and squatting and all that stuff, but some of the stuff he does on game day is just insane. And like, it's hard to kind of see when you're in the game and you're playing off of him, but like watching from the sideline this past weekend, that dude is making some money. I'll say that, but he's balling. He's balling out of his mind right now, and we need it. We need it big time for this defense, for this team. He's playing insane. He's got to keep it going, keep getting better.
So you mean football strength is being able to move another guy around?
What's that?
By football strength, just like
Oh yeah.
the ability to move
Yeah,
other
because some
people.
guys they can go bench press whatever amount of weight in the weight room, and then you get on the field and it doesn't translate. You know, he has football strength where he's literally moving grown men and manhandling them.
I'll give you an opportunity to act as an agent. Were you surprised that he didn't get the kind of whatever?
I'm not involved in any of that stuff. No, don't. I'm not going to give you any clickbait on that one, but he's doing great. All right, guys.
Hey, faithful, don't forget to click here to subscribe to our YouTube.